Hey folks, how you doing? Welcome back to the Deron Harris podcast. I am your host, Deron Harris, and welcome to episode 5. And in this episode, we are going to be talking about the housing crisis, or in some people's case, it's a crisis. In other people's case, it's a blessing. Either way, today we are going to be chopping it up in this episode called Lord, Please Don't Let Me Be Homeless. So yeah, today we are going to be chopping up the current housing market, what is causing the housing boom, what is actually causing or fueling what's going on, and we're going to also break down what the problems actually are, what people are actually, the people who aren't benefiting are having to do or suffering through while this is going on. So, which I have a few things I could actually say about it myself, because my wife and I have been trying to buy a house for quite some time in the area that we live in, and we live in Florida. We live in the Tampa Bay area in Florida, and it's crazy here. So, I want to definitely address that. But before we get to all that, I want to give out some shout outs. Well, actually, I just want to give out one shout out today. I'm doing only one shout out today, and I want to shout out Michael Bay, the director of the Transformer films and the Bad Boy movies and, Mr. Machine Guns and Explosives, Michael Bay, that guy right there. And the reason I want to shout him out, because he said that he would 100% work with Will Smith again. And I think that's great because, as you know, Will Smith has pretty much been excommunicated from the Academy for the next 10 years. And he's getting a lot of flack for it. And, we hope that, or at least I do, I hope that he can bounce back from that. But for Michael Bay to say that he would actually work with him, he said he was a really even-keeled guy. He was a nice guy, a genuine person, and I believe that. And I hope that, other people who make films don't ostracize him or cast him to the side, or just try and, distance themselves from Will Smith, because he still is a very good actor, but he is human, so everybody needs to take into account that they are human as well, and they are quite capable of making mistakes, and everybody wants to make amends. Not everybody. A lot of people would like to make amends. So anyway, today's Dope Shit Award is going to my main man. Now, this guy right here, he made me want to be a comedian. Today's Dope Shit Award, I'll just go ahead and get to it, is going to Eddie Murphy. Eddie Murphy gets today's Dope Shit Award. Yes, folks, today's Dope Shit. Take a guess why. Well, I guess you can't really guess, so I'll go ahead and tell you. He is going to play George Clinton. He is currently in talks or in development to actually play the dog, man. I tell you what, I'm a big Parliament and Funkadelic fan, so I'm anxious, and a big Eddie Murphy fan. And I'm gonna tell you what, he crushed it on Netflix with Rudy Ray Moore, man, playing Dolomite. That was dope. I really enjoyed that movie a whole lot, especially, and I liked it a lot because it was actually true. So, and I think that is probably a new niche for Eddie Murphy to play actual people. I mean, he's a great character actor to begin with, and like I said, he's the reason that I wanted to do comedy. Growing up where I grew up, he had a large home in Englewood Cliffs, New Jersey, and I used to go over and sit in my car and sit in front of his house and write jokes. And that's what I did when I first started, when I first wanted to be a comedian, because he inspired me so much that I felt very connected to him. So I'm very anxious and super excited to see this next project. And not only is he going to star in it, but apparently he is also producing it as well. So, or in conjunction with some other people, but he is also on the list of executive producers for the film. So hopefully we get to see this. Like I said, it's currently in development. It's looking like it's going to happen, but I'm anxious to see, because, George Clinton is one interesting motherfucker. So I definitely want to see about my man's life, and maybe, he'll make a little cameo in the movie or whatever. But Eddie Murphy does have musical talent, so I'm anxious to see if he's gonna flex any of his musical genius, as he would say. But if he's able to do that, that would just be, icing on the cake. And I'm sure he's probably, if he's going to play George Clinton, I'm sure he's probably talking to George now, trying to prepare for the role. So very anxious, and I think that's super dope. So today's Dope Shit Awards goes to my main man, Eddie Murphy. So on to the next. What do you listen to, Darren? I tell you what I've been listening to. Today's earbuds is what I've been listening to is... And this is something else, too, that I'm really, really, really excited about. I've been listening to a lot of Mos Def this past this past week. A lot of Mos Def, a lot of Talib Kweli, a lot of it, like an excessive amount of it. And what I've been listening to one of my favorite Mos Def albums, which was True Magic. There was a lot of good tracks on that, but there was, he put that album out. He put that album out in 2006 with no ASCAP. You had to know about this album. If you were a fan, you knew about it. But you had to know about this album. I loved it because he just went against everything that the record industry was. He's like, I'm going to do this for my fans, and he did it. I think he got in a little bit of trouble for it, but he definitely he put a banger out, man. So like one of my favorite songs on the album was Thug Is a Drug, and another song was Lifetime. Just great songs. Just, good listening, good music, good lyricism. And also, like I said, Mos is real diverse, man. He'll hit you with some hard hip hop, and then he'll turn around and hit you with like some jazzy, cool funks type shit. So, very, 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 very enthralled with some Mos Def right now. Also, I've been listening to a little bit of Talib Kweli. Now, I wasn't as big of a Talib Kweli fan, but I did listen to Talib Kweli, and I also enjoyed a lot of his messages in his music because, again, he's a very socially conscious hip-hop artist, and I am a very socially conscious dude, or at least I try to be, or I portray that I am. So I spent a lot of time listening to these two artists, but I will tell you what I'm excited about, and this is why I'm listening to the two of them, because if you know, or if you're fans of both of them, you would know that they had a group called Black Star, and Black Star was one of the all-time iconic hip-hop groups of like the early 90s, early mid 90s, like the early 2000s, just on through, just putting out banger after banger after banger, man. I just would listen to Black Star albums all the time. Anyway, they on an old track. It was a track called Twice in a Lifetime. It had all like just a bunch of good MCs. Just in I think High Tech made the beat. It was, and I'm expecting to see. Like I just go ahead and say it. Black Star is putting out their first new album in 24 years, and that is just it was going to get the Dope Shit Award, but I didn't want to give it the whole clean sweep on some dope shit, because I think that what Eddie Murphy is doing is actually pretty dope also. But I just want to also give a lot of credit, or not really credit, but I want to accentuate a lot that this album is coming out, and it's coming out on May 3rd. It's going to be out on May 3rd. That's the day before my son's birthday, so I might get my son. I got a 25-year-old. He don't know shit about Mos Def or Talib Kweli. He listens to all this new hip hop, which is cool. But I want him to, so I might actually get this for him and make him listen to it on his birthday. But just so he can realize and understand what real socially conscious hip hop is about, or where it started anywhere, where I thought it started. But that album drops on May 3rd, and the album is going to be called No Fear of Time. And if you are a Black Star fan, then you already feel my enthusiasm. If you are not a Black Star fan, or you don't know anything about Black Star, I suggest that you go and get Mos Def 101, then you get Talib Kweli 101, and you put the two together, and then you get Black Star, and then you start listening to some Black Star, and you get some great shit. So big shout out to Mos Def and Talib Kweli for putting out another album, giving us another album after 24 years. And I'm already gonna tell you, both of them is off the chain lyricists, so I already can tell you right off the bat, it's gonna be chock full of like straight up dookie lyrics, just straight up hot bar after hot bar, especially from my man Mos. So to me, Mos is one of the most underrated rappers in history, because he is very clever. He is very clever, and not only is he clever, he's very intelligent. So, and I think he's actually going by Yaslin Bey, which is actually his real name, which I think is a cool name. So anyway, Shout out to them dudes on my earbuds. That's what I'm listening to this week, or have been listening to this past week. In anticipation for the new album, and once the new album drops, of course I'll be listening to it, and of course it's going to be on my on my earbuds. So we'll definitely check back. And I like this when I can catch an album before it drops, so I can kind of get warm and hyped up with everybody else, and then I can kind of come back and report to you guys what's going on with it. So look forward to hearing my take on on the album. And I'll probably do a little bit more in depth with it because I am a big fan, just like I'm a fan of the Roots. And like I said, the Roots, they collaborate with a lot. Like, the reason I listen to a lot of the music I listen to is because of a couple of cats like Mos Def, Talib Kweli. They run in the same circle with like Erykah Badu and Common and the Roots. They all kind of run in the same circle, or they did at least. And during the time when they were all running together, they put out a lot of great music. Like Erykah Badu did Rimshot. That was all during that era. Common did The Light, and it was all during the era when they was all kind of collabing and messing with each other. Maybe they got a song on it's on True Magic. It's a song called The Questions, and it's Mos Def and Common, which I just love that track. So like I said, highly anticipated, long awaited album being released after 24 years from Black Star. The album will be called No Fear of Time, and that album drops on May 23rd, and that, my friends, is the earbuds for the week. Okay, so what you smoking? This next portion of the podcast is brought to you by Leafly. Leafly is a comprehensive app that helps you get cannabis knowledge. So get down with some Leafly, and you guys can do some like ride along or some play along with me, like the picture page, some Bill Cosby picture page, and we can kind of go along. So I want to talk about the strain of the week this week. Had a really good strain, but I want to tell you guys something. Now listen to this. I noticed a couple of weeks ago, I went to the dispensary, and we got a strain that we got it because it was inexpensive, and it was a strain called Layer Cake. Layer Cake is actually the strain of the week this week, but it wasn't the strain of the week a couple of weeks ago when we got it initially, and I'll tell you why. When I got back in the car, first what happened is my wife had looked and noticed that there was a strain that was 23.8%. And I said, okay, so let's slide over and go get it. So we went over and got it, and I noticed that it was the Layer Cake, and it was 23.8%. And I was like, all right, cool. But then I realized that we had gotten another Layer Cake a few weeks before, but it was only 16.5%. And I was like, well, why is that? But then I looked at the label, and it said T3. It said Layer Cake T3, which is tier 3, equals to 23.3%. What I had gotten a couple of weeks prior to that was Layer Cake tier 2, which is 16.5%, which is lower dose. So what I realized when I do go to the dispensary from now on is to make sure, especially if I'm looking for that, is to make sure I check to see which tier that I'm getting. Now, usually, the reason I got the tier 3 is because they had it on an incredible sale. It was 23.3%, and they wanted, I think it was $25, for an eighth, which was great, and it lasted, several days. And let me tell you about it, though. And this is why it's the strain of the week this week. Remember a couple of weeks ago when I did the relationship part where I said I wanted to create more fun? Well, not only did it help me create more fun, but it helped me be more productive. And not only did it help me, it helped my wife as well. We actually had a wonderful weekend because we went and we played. She had never hit a golf ball in her life, and we just decided to stop out of nowhere. Now, I had done it a few times with some friends before, and she had actually gone with me one time before, but we had just decided to go to a local driving range right by our house, and I taught my wife how to hit a golf ball. Blah, who'd have knew? And she did really, really well. As a matter of fact, stay tuned because she's going to be hitting the LPGA before too long, so y'all girls better watch out. But it was very heady. it was very focused. It did make me forget about my back issues, especially me out there swinging a golf club. And we got about 150 balls. We got about 150 balls, and we had a great time. We spent about 2 hours out there, hour and 45 minutes, just out there swinging clubs, and we had some good laughs. We had a cocktail. It was great. We had a wonderful day, and we spent $10, and it was great. So had a lot of fun. So that's one of the reasons that I wanted to accentuate this strain. People have reported that this strain helps them with their depression. It helps them with their lack of ability to focus. It does make you focus on some things, which it actually, I try and do that. I try and find strains that are going to help me focus or maintain focus or maintain creativity. And this is a very good strain for that, because I have been able to maintain a lot of focus, maintain a lot of creativity. I've gotten a lot of things done this week. So, layer cake, get it. And that, my friends, is the strain of the week. All right, on to the next portion of the podcast, which I want to talk about now. This is what I want to talk about now. Here we go. The main show topic: what is going on with the current housing market? What's happening? Are you affected by it? Are you being affected? Who's being affected? I am being affected by it. Not only housing, purchasing, but the rental market as well. Everyone that I know, every person that I know, just about, unless you've already owned your home or you've been living in the place where you've been living for 1,000 years, and even that's starting to change a little bit too. But everybody that I know is being personally affected by what's going on with the housing market in the country, or at least in the part of the country where I live. I live in Tampa. I live in almost ground zero for where this growth is taking place. There's a lot of growth happening. So, we're going to talk about now what is happening. What is it like? First, who's moving here? Who are the people that are just all of a sudden out of nowhere, let's just move here? Just let's take everything and move here. And I'll tell you what, it's a lot of Northeasterners and Midwesterners are moving here. A lot of people are moving here from New York and New Hampshire and places, a lot of cold weather climates. And, I can kind of get it, because we have a nice warm climate down here. It's always nice. The winters are very mild. It does get a little cold, but the winters are generally pretty mild considering. So I see that, a lot of that. But that's always been like that. It's always been people moving from the north coming to the south. But what is making these people move in such, it's almost like a mass migration, like everybody's like, it's just funneling out. Like there's a big hole up north that's just draining people out of it to the south or out west, because there's a few other states. Arizona's seeing a big pickup. Utah, I believe, is seeing a big pickup. Montana's seeing a little bit of a pickup. People are moving out of a lot of places, and I'll tell you what, but it's strange to me because it's never really been like this. It's been times where people have moved, and it's been a lot of people move, but never like, as many people in as short a period of time, and the reason that they're moving. So why are people moving? Why are people moving? My best guess is people want to be closer to their friends and family. Maybe they need more space. Some people, they want to change in weather. That's a lot of people I know. Too cold. Some people are looking for a place that's more affordable, but I don't know why they're coming here, because it's getting to the point here where it's becoming not affordable for the people that are already here. Now, it might be affordable for the people in the Northeast because the cost of living, I've known people that have they sell their house up there. You sell a home up there, just a regular 3-family house, and it's $450,000, $500,000, $650,000. You come down here, this used to be the land of $200,000 houses, 250, 300,000 maybe, but now it seems like every shack on every other corner is $350,000, and everything it's crazy because it's continuing to happen. People are taking advantage of the COVID stuff that happened. A lot of people taking advantage of the ability to work from home. They want to stay at home. I get it. They want a nice house. Especially if you can work from home. If your job is working from home and you can live any place you want, why not be someplace warm? If you don't have to go into the office, if you could work a job in New York and make the wage in New York, but you could live in Florida, or why not do that, right? I would. I did a long time ago. I moved to Florida about 12 years ago. It's been great. For the most part, I do miss New York a lot. I would love to eventually go back to New York, but for right now, Florida's pretty cool. But what's happening is it's becoming pretty cool for everybody. Everybody is moving here, and it's great to have people move here because there is, a lot of diversity that's starting to come here. There's a lot of people from a lot of different cultures and a lot of different places, and they bring, different cultures, and they bring, different ways of doing things here. And I do enjoy, that's one of the things I enjoyed about living in New York, is because there's just so many, it's very diverse there. So where are people moving to? Where are people going? You're leaving the Northeast. You're packing up your shit. Where are you going? Well, a lot of, like I said, people are moving. They're either moving out west or they're moving down south. Now, I looked at a article the other day, and there are 25 cities across the country that are seeing like growth like you would not believe. Like, there are 25 of these cities. Now, out of these 25 cities, Florida is where I live. Florida has 11 of those cities, including right where I live at. You know what I'm saying? We saw just incredible growth, like rapidly, almost like right at the end of COVID, like right towards the end of COVID. It was like everybody and they fucking mother wanted to move here from everywhere, out of nowhere. My sister-in-law said she lives in Chicago. All she sees on television is Tampa, come to Tampa, move to Tampa. It's warm. Tom Brady comes here. Well, Tom Brady lives here. And I'm going to tell you what, that's a lot of the reasons motherfuckers is moving here is because Tom Brady is here. No bullshit. That's crazy. Tom Brady don't know these people, but they move here because he's here. Okay. Whatever. So, I don't know. So what is causing this, right? What do we think is causing this? Or what do I think is causing this? Honestly, there's a few factors, okay? What do I think is causing it? COVID aftermath. It really is. People wanted to, this took some people I was affected. Some people that were very, very close to me are no longer here. You know what I'm saying? So, I get it. Some people are wanting to be closer to their families, closer to, or have an opportunity to have space to have their families, or have their people closer to them. So that's one of the reasons I think that a lot of this is happening. And a lot of people, all my family, although I'm from New York, but all my family, both sides of my family are from Florida. My mom and my dad were both born here. My mom and my dad both live here. My dad just recently moved back down here, but my mother's been here pretty much all my life. Most of my life anyway, I have roots here. I'm related to just about everybody in the state. I have family in every major city in this state. You know what I'm saying? So I can understand. And one of the reasons I moved was way before COVID. One of the reasons I moved here is so I could be close to my family. So, I wanted to be close to my family. And I wanted to have adequate space and maybe pay a little bit less than I was paying in New York, because at the time when I left New York, it was in 2010, it was breaking me. It was breaking a lot of people. New York is always breaking motherfuckers, and that's the thing about New York. But now it's getting to the point here where, I looked on Zillow, and right down the street, right around the corner, there's a one-bedroom. They wanted $2,500 right around the corner from my house. Now I looked at a one-bedroom apartment in Brooklyn, and the same price. It's the same price. It's the same price. So you mean to tell me I could pay the same price to live in Brooklyn, New York, as I can to live right here on Central Avenue in St. Petersburg, Florida? Really? For real though? Word? That's crazy business. That the cost of, and that's the thing, the cost of living doesn't even match that. It's crazy. People ain't paying people like they paying people in New York, not down here. But they're still charging these rents to get this money. And what that's doing is it's creating an affluent environment, which is forcing people out. It's displacing people. It's making it so they can't afford to take advantage of any of the amenities that are coming here, which is a problem, which is starting to become a problem. Everybody's so excited. Oh, a new high rise going up over here. Oh, another high rise going up over here. Oh, hey, check out this new condo, such and such going over here. Oh, they went and built 4 homes on the south side, so on and so forth. And all of that is raising the property value and pushing out people who can't afford to really live where they are. All those people are about to teeter over the edge, and they're pushing them on purpose. It's crazy. You know what I'm saying? People got a lot of stimulus money. This also, people got a bunch of stimulus money, and all of a sudden, hey, let's take a little bit of this stimulus money and let's do the right thing with it. Let's try to get ourselves a little bit of a home. So that happened. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot less land for construction. That's driving up the price. That's causing this boom. I mean, there's these cow pastures in Florida for years and years and years, and now you're starting to see these cow pastures slowly but surely turn over into apartment complexes and condo complexes and land development and no more rural area unless you're in the middle of the state, man. And even getting to the point where you're in the middle of the state where these small rural towns are starting to become little towns now, with a little gourmet scene, or, where my father is from. My father's side of the family is from Mount Dora, Florida, and it's always had a little, cute scene downtown. The little downtown area is very nice. It's antique. The Antique Road Show is filmed in Mount Dora, Florida, to their claim to fame. But nevertheless, it's a very, very pretty little town. And what's starting to happen now, man, is people are starting to get up from the north. They're starting to get a hold of these little pretty little towns, and man, they're snatching up these little houses. Not only are they snatching up one little house, they're snatching up 2 little houses and 3 little houses, because the house that they just sold up north for $550,000, I came down here and I bought one nice house for $200,000, and I got this money left over. So I bought 2 other little houses, and now I have investment property. And that's how people are making their money here. Airbnbs are, crushing the game out here right now. It's crazy. People are buying homes and Airbnb-ing them. They're just buying them up, taking them off the market. There's no inventory. Is it going to last? Some people say that this is the way that it is now. There was a housing bubble not too long, about 2008-9. There was this housing bubble, and it burst. And everybody across the country was affected. Fort Myers, Florida, and it's funny that you say it. Fort Myers, Florida is one of the places that is seeing a lot of this growth. But in the last housing crisis, Fort Myers and Lehigh Acres area was the hardest hit in the country. It was on CNN. It was on the news how bad that it got hit. I mean, it was crazy. But people seem to think that this is a different thing, and the property value increasing is going to sustain, and it's going to stay this way. And that's hard, because if it stays that way and they don't pay any more wage, then people are going to start not being able to afford to live in the areas where they live now. Like my apartment now, I mean, I'll tell you what, man, I'll tell you straight off the bat, it ain't cheap to start, but it's a 1-bedroom. It's a luxury loft. I have an elevator building. It's a luxury loft building. But I walked around the corner the other day with my Great Dane and in my little bougie neighborhood, and I noticed that there was a 3-bedroom house for rent for the same money that I pay for rent at this 1-bedroom. But I also noticed that it was for rent by an owner. An owner was renting it, not a company, but an owner. Because that's happened too in this. There's some companies here that have bought up some property, and they've bought up a lot of it. They've taken a lot of the inventory, and what they've done is they are now renting it to people. And that's what they are. They're rentals now. Instead of somebody being able to actually outright buy this home, a company has come and bought 20 or 30 of these houses, and now they're renting them to people. And now they can't be anybody's house at the moment, because somebody's getting rich off of them, or getting rich off of somebody else who's paying them mortgage, paying their mortgage. So other people say that this is not going to last. it can't last. It can't sustain. And I kind of agree with that almost to kind of. And the reason why is because I look at it like this. You guys can go as much up on the rent as you want to. If nobody's paying me any more than I'm making, and I'm not making any money, which people don't really want to pay you anymore. They want you to come to work. They want you to work your ass off, but they still don't want to pay you what they should be paying you. So if you're not going to pay me and you're going to raise my rent, then I'm just going to have to move away from here. But then it's just going to create a more elitist community, a less diverse community, because you won't have regular people here. Just people who are just, living their life, as opposed to somebody who's super affluent, or a town full of super affluent people, because that's the way that it seems like this town where I live at is going, is the way of the super affluent people, and to the point where they're going into the South Side and they're buying up blocks and blocks and blocks of homes on the South Side of town, which is the more urban side of town, blocks and blocks and blocks of homes and empty lots. And they're building homes on a street where the home value on this street, the median home value is about $170,000. People are coming here and they're building 2 and 3 homes on this one block that are $450 and $500. And what does that do? That's attracting a certain clientele, and it's raising the property value that these people aren't able to take advantage of unless they sell their home for the 180, 190, to this company, which will then demolish their home and then put up one of their homes and charge the $500,000, moving everybody further away from where they're at. They're basically taking a neighborhood. And I watched it happen in Bedford-Stuyvesant, where I'm from. I watched it happen in Bed-Stuy right in front of my eyes, man. Because I tell you what, the house that I live next to, the apartment I lived next to at one time, it was a crack house at one time. And then there was a burned out building across the street. It was an apartment building, like a 16-unit apartment building. The bottom floor of it was a hoe house, no bullshit. And all that stuff had cease and desist, and it was just sitting there empty for a little while. Now, I tell you what, the crack house, it was a brownstone. It was a 3-family brownstone, which is like 4 units. Each unit went for $450,000. In this one brownstone across the street, the units in the apartment building went for, I think it was $600 for each unit. Do you know what I'm saying? And it wasn't like that. And it just attracted people that could afford the rent or that mortgage, and it pushed the people who really couldn't afford that further back into areas of economic recession. And it damaged the neighborhood. They did not include these people in the neighborhood, and now the people who grew up in the neighborhood, the people who live in the neighborhood now, they look at these people like they have no business in this neighborhood when, I grew up, you bought my grandmother's house. I used to sit on this stoop when I was 11 years old, and now you telling me I can't even walk down the block here? Or you looking at me like I'm crazy for walking down the block that I've been walking down my whole life? You know what I'm saying? And that's the mentality that's happening. You looking at me funny because I walked in your little store. You know what I'm saying? But I used to walk in this little store right here. I've been walking in this store my whole life. I've been walking this block my whole life. And just because you guys been here 2 and 3 years doesn't mean that you know what's going on around here. You know what I'm saying? But that happens more and more. I watched it happen in Bedford-Stuyvesant. I'm watching it happen in the neighborhood I'm in now. Right now. It's happening right now. It's crazy. So I don't know. There's people leaving they're leaving the Midwest and Northeast, coming to South. Cost of living is cheaper. People buying homes for straight up cash. People ain't doing that. And that's what it is. You say you're home up north, right? And you get a house up north, man, I'm telling you what, you got a 4-family brownstone in New York, that's like $1 million at least. 4-family brownstone in New York, you own one of those, $1 million. Easy. You sell that and you come down to Florida. You can either buy yourself $1 million house, or you can buy yourself, a $300,000 house and a few other homes and some investment property. And that's what people are doing. It's cheaper down here, or it was. So what was happening, because people started paying cash for all these for all these homes, this is what started happening. People was paying cash. So people started marking it up. This house is only worth 170, but you have marked it up to $200,000, 210 grand, and people paid it. They paid it. They actually paid the cash price. Cash. Showing up to closing with cash. 200 grand. Here's a check for $210,000. Cash. People straight up took it. They straight up took it. Of course they did. Of course they did. They would be stupid not to. You know what I'm saying? But my thing was always this. This house only is valued at 170. You paid 210. Don't you feel like a dumbass for paying $40,000 over the price of that it's actually valued at? I mean, when you go to sell it, it's not going to be worth that. It's not going to appraise for what you paid for it. I mean, you might miss money, you know? Because after a while, I think all this shit is going to be over. People are going to be like, all right, enough of this. You know what I'm saying? It's going to balance itself out. It's going to level out. It cannot sustain this growth, not at this rapid pace. You know what I'm saying? Eventually, something's going to give. Something's going to give. I don't know. I think people need to be careful. I mean, okay, cool. You bought your house cash. Cool. But I think that you need to be careful. The interest rates are going up now. I think people need to be careful. You need to chill out. You know, I saw on Zillow the other day, there was a price, the property, they dropped the price of it, $24,000. Let me guess. That was probably the $24,000 that you marked it up. And people are starting to get smart and say, you know what? I'm not paying $24,000 over the price that this house was appraised for. People getting smart. But they weren't smart in the beginning, and that's what fueled this bullshit. Because people just running here and buying. There were people buying homes without inspections. Taking it just how it is. I don't care. But you know what, though? When you sold your house for $650,000 and you're buying a house for $120 or $150 or $190, you know, if something's wrong with it, you still got, you know, blah, blah, blah. You can go in there, all right, just pull it out and fix it. You can make a brand new house if you want to. You can still make a brand new house. So that's some of the things that are fueling it. You know, that's some of the things that are going on. So what are the real problems and who is affected? What are the problems? What's happening, man? Well, rising mortgage rates are the problem. 30% in the last year. Interest rates, inspection costs, appraisal costs, all that stuff. All that stuff is increasing in price. It's costing more to get all this stuff done. I want to know who the fuck said that this is what it is now. Who? Oh, you better. It used to be, oh man, you can make a deal. Now it's bring your highest and best offer. For what? I think it was some real estate agent shit. You know what I'm saying? Trying to take advantage of people coming out of the pandemic. Me and my wife were supposed to buy this house. Now listen to this. We were supposed to buy a little house. It was 190 grand. Just a small house, 2 bedrooms, small backyard, you know, but nice backyard. It was a nice little house across the street from a park. It was great. And we were talking to the people, and they liked us, and we liked them, and we were going to go through with it, but then something happened. COVID happened. And then all of a sudden, when COVID happened, all the interest rates shot through the roof. Bling! So it made it harder for us to get the deal done. So what ended up happening is because it started to move slow, the person took it down off the market. So we didn't get the house. So we went through COVID, right? This whole thing happened, nobody going nowhere, and then somewhere toward the end of COVID, it started happening. Everybody started being able to get out, and everybody was moving here. And all of a sudden, people are traveling now and down here with their families now. And oh my God, how much is it to buy a house down here? And man, this is cold up here. And And all of a sudden, you have people migrating here. And miraculously, we saw this same house that we were about to buy come back up for sale. So we called our realtor. We were excited about it. We called our realtor, and he contacted the people and asked. He said, hey, the people that were going to buy the house, they're interested in it again. Is there a way that we could maybe get together and discuss trying to? And what ended up happening is the people that were selling the house, they ended up taking a cash offer instead of our offer. They took a cash offer instead of our offer, and that happened to us about 5 or 6 times where we got beat out by a cash offer. Now, my wife and I at the time, we made a banging living. You know what I'm saying? We make a great living. We don't do bad. But we don't have cash. Damn sure ain't got $190,000 liquid. Not even close. You know what I'm saying? People just coming out of nowhere. Woodwork. How many? All kind of shit. Crypto millionaires coming up just snatching up the inventory from underneath it. Fucking crazy. You know what I'm saying? And at the end of all that stuff, we paid, inspection costs and, appraisals and after all of that stuff, guaranteed nothing. Nothing. You're not guaranteed anything. So then we tried to, we scrambling, you know what I'm saying? We thought we were going to buy a house. Now we're not. Luckily, I had a buddy that had an extra bedroom, and we ended up having to stay with him for like 3 months, which was just ridiculous. But in the meantime, we started looking around for a place to rent. So we're looking for homes. We got a few dogs, and you got a little bit of space. We got kids. We need a little bit of space. So we're looking around, and it started getting to the point where, hey, we can't, there's nothing over here and nothing over there. Nothing and nothing more, nothing. And then more, and then all of a sudden there was fucking nothing. Nowhere. There was nothing. And we were just like, what is going on here? What is happening here? So we would, and this was another scam. There was a company that we started called Urban Renewal or something like that. And they would advertise a house for rent. We'd go look at the house, and no agent necessary. You go put your code in, and you go look at the house. If you like it, you log back on. You pay your little $35 application fee, and you go through the application process. That's what it was. But the problem with that is because that there was no agent present, there were a multiple of people going to apply to stay at these homes, to rent these homes. So this house that I went to look at, there were 10 people here earlier than me and another 10 people this afternoon after me. And if you liked that house, if I liked it, somebody else liked it, all 30 of us liked it, all 30 of us would put down $30 application fee, non-refundable. But then you'd get an email and say, oh, well, this house isn't available any longer. Here's another house. And you'd rush over to that house. Well, we like this house too. We like that house too. Da-da-da-da, so on and so forth. And that happened to us 5 or 6 times also, where we were trying to find a house, but they were taking our fucking deposit and not giving us anything. So finally, we just got fed up, and we came into where we live now, the luxury high-rise building. And I just went into the leasing office and was like, look, dude, what's happening here? You know what I'm saying? And he got us expedited pretty quickly, and here we are. But we had to go through this crazy rigmarole, because we wanted to buy a home, which we were more than capable of, but that's what happened to us. And that's just the tip of the iceberg of what happened. I kind of just paraphrased a lot of what the fuck happened to us, because it was so much deeper than that. So much deeper than that. Just screwed over at every juncture. It was very off-putting, but, do I want to give up buying a house? No, absolutely not, because I think that we deserve to own a home. I think everybody in the country, if you work hard, you deserve to own a house. You know what I'm saying? So, whatever I got to do, whatever work I got to put in, whatever I got to do. You know what I'm saying? I'm just gonna buckle down, and I got to do it. So people, it's bothersome to me, because what happens is when when the property value starts happening, of course we all know people start becoming priced out. But they're, like I said, they're becoming priced out of their own neighborhoods, man. Like, places where they grew up, man. And listen to this. Rent costs in my area, right? The rent costs in my area in 1 month, and I'm not exaggerating, it's a month, you can look it up, in my area rose 32%. You know what I'm saying? And I'm a person of color, obviously, if you didn't know. And I looked on Zillow, and according to Zillow, I looked at a little article on Zillow, people of color pay higher rent. You know what I'm saying? They charging us higher rent because they don't want us to live here. You know what I'm saying? They don't want somebody like me living next door to them. I don't know why, but they just don't. But, it's okay. I try not to let that get to me, but, they want to charge me more rent. Even on top of the rent already is crazy. What you trying to charge me now? Crazy. You know what I'm saying? So they want to gentrify the neighborhoods. They come and gentrify. To me, and this is, correct me, to me, gentrification just means remove all the black people. That's what gentrification means to me. Take their shit is what it means. We're going to take your shit and move you out to another place. And when this gets too expensive and saturated, and we're going to come to where you are again, and we're going to take that shit too and push you even further back. You know, my question is where the fuck do we go? But the answer is they don't really care. So it's about money. It's about money. And it really is. And if you ain't got the money, they don't want you around here. You know what I'm saying? When they push you out, they start pushing out. There's fewer people of color or any diversity in the neighborhood. Because let's just face it, you know, white folks control most of the wealth anyway. They don't build that shit for us. They build that shit for them. You know what I'm saying? It's crazy. You know, I don't want to say it like that, but those are just the facts. So, I don't know, folks. I can't call it. I just hope that things get better. I hope that someday my wife and I are able to put our resources together and pull together a fucking home. You know, I hope that one day people understand that everybody has a dream to own a home, and you know, it shouldn't be thwarted by greed. But that happens so much these days. People don't care how hard you work or how determined you are, how much you wanted this. It just comes down to how much money can I squeeze out of this person. So I hope that we can change that mentality and everybody across the land can start getting together and having barbecues in their backyards that they're comfortably able to afford. So that, folks, is the topic of the day, or the topics of the day, or the topics of the week. So hopefully it'll get better. All right. Okay, back to relationship goals. We're going to spin around onto relationship goals, and this is the part of the podcast where I discuss what I'm doing to try and achieve being the world's greatest husband. So I'm trying to be, I've just gotten married. I'm still a newlywed. I've only been married about a month. A month and a week now. I guess maybe about a month. You know, right at a month. It's gonna be bad at anniversary. No, I've been married right at a month, but I'm trying to gauge when I'm actually recording this podcast and when it will be released to when I actually got married. So I'm gonna say I got married at a month. So, and last week I had said that I wanted to try and effectively communicate, be more effective and more eloquent in the way that I communicate my thoughts and my feelings to her. And I am going to be super, super honest. I failed miserably. And I'll tell you why. We had a bit of a disagreement at our local IKEA store. And when we got in the car, we had quite a little bit more than a tiff. Now, you know, I'm not that dude. We never get physical, but you know, sometimes we both, you know, she's Latin, you know, here I am, some angry black dude. You know, we in here yelling at the top of our lungs at each other over some dumb shit that don't even matter. And I had to catch myself, which I do kind of commend myself on, learning to try and catch these things, learning to try and catch when things are spiraling out of control. And mind you, this is after the fantastic weekend that we had playing golf. This is how we brought it to a crescendo. But we had to sit down or I had to sit down and say, hey, okay, you know, what exactly is going on here? You know, and you know, I think somewhere along the line that she did the same, because we were able to, again, you know, meet in the middle. We don't go to bed angry. You know, we were able to kind of meet in the middle. We had our little spat and came home and didn't talk to each other for a little while. But shortly thereafter, it was like, are you hungry? And it's like, yeah, I'm hungry. And what's wrong with you? Or what are you doing? You know, we had, you know, a little bit of conversation, not a whole lot, but there wasn't much more fighting, you know. So it just for us, I believe, or for me at least, I know it's more important to be in love than, you know, than to be, you know, just all the time. It just doesn't make any sense. You know what I'm saying? It just creates, stress in your relationship, just angst in your relationship for absolutely nothing. So, try and find ways to kind of get around it or do something different or diffuse it. You know what I'm saying? So I want to try next week to this week, I want to try and do what I said I was going to do last week, which is effectively communicate more effectively. You know what I'm saying? Because a lot of spats, man, 90% of it is tone of voice. How you said something to somebody. The intention may have been one way, but they took it in another because you said it in the wrong way, or you didn't say it like, we ain't psychic. We don't fucking know. But, you know what I'm saying? A lot of the conflict is just because somebody took out of context your tone of voice, or they took out of context what you actually meant, or they saw something that they weren't in possession of all the facts, or a wide variety of things. The point is just try and make a way when you feel yourself starting to get angry or angsty about anything. What I'm starting to do is step back for a second and try and calculate what I'm going to say. Now, I didn't do it the other day, but I have done it. I have been doing it, but it was a little heated the other day. But that's no excuse. I'm not here to make excuses because, like I said, excuses only satisfy those that make them. So instead, what I want to do is I want to try and build on that. I want to try and build on myself. I want to try to incorporate that into my repertoire, that coolness, that calmness, that ability to sit down and be like, you know what? I'm not going to lose my cool. I'm going to remain calm. You know what I'm saying? I don't care what she do. I don't care how she acting. I don't care what she doing. And maybe that right there will help her bring it down to my level also. So, so that's what I'm going to do. And what I'm going to try and do this week on top of that, I'm, like I said, learn to identify when things are wrong, but I'm going to learn to have discussions. I'm going to have to learn to have discussions and not an argument, a discussion. Very different. A disagreement doesn't have to mean the end of the world. It just means you disagree. It can still be a discussion. We can still discuss this. You know what I'm saying? I do not want to fight with you. That's not what I'm doing. So that's what I'm trying to do this week. So that is this week's relationship goals. So I guess that is going to wrap it up for episode 5 of the Deron Harris podcast. Lord, please don't let me be homeless. Make sure you tune back in next week when we'll be talking about some completely different shit. I'm not really sure. You can follow me if you'd like on my social media. My name is Deron, Deron T Harris, Deron, Deron T period Harris, Harris, and that is me on Instagram. Or you can follow me, Deron Tere, Terae, Harris, Harris, on Facebook. On Twitter, I am at Deron Harris, at Deron Harris. And, of course, you can visit my website at DeronHarris.com, and you can download my podcast at Apple Podcasts. You can get it at Spotify or anywhere you download your podcast. Thank you very much, folks, for tuning in to this episode of the Deron Harris podcast. I appreciate you very, very much. Please join me next week. Thanks for listening. Have a great afternoon.